What if I told you that two tiny patches of desert and swamp turned themselves into the richest, shiniest cities on the entire planet, and now they are locked in a silent battle for global dominance? Think about that for a second. Singapore was once a swampy little fishing outpost with almost no natural resources. Dubai was a sleepy desert town where pearl diving was the biggest industry in sight. And yet today, both of these places are symbols of wealth, ambition, and futuristic living. Skyscrapers that touch the clouds. Airports that feel like five-star hotels. Economies that seem to defy logic. But here is the real question that nobody seems to agree on. If you had to choose one of these cities to live in, invest in, or build your future in, which one would actually come out on top? In this video, we are going to break down 10 major points comparing Singapore and Dubai, from their economies and lifestyles to their governments, safety, and long-term potential. By the end, you will have a much clearer picture of which city might be the smarter bet for your money, your career, or even your family's future. So stick around, because the answer might surprise you. Point 1. The origin story. Every great rivalry starts with an origin story, and this one is fascinating. Singapore gained independence in 1965 under less than ideal circumstances. It was kicked out of a merger with Malaysia, had no natural resources, no fresh water supply of its own, and a population crammed into a tiny piece of land. Many experts at the time believed the country would fail. Instead, under the leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore transformed itself through strict governance, heavy investment in education, and a laser focus on becoming a global trade and finance hub. Dubai's story is different but equally dramatic. Part of the United Arab Emirates, Dubai's transformation really began to accelerate in the 1990s and 2000s, fueled initially by oil wealth from the wider region, but then deliberately diversified by visionary leadership, particularly under Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Dubai made a conscious choice to not rely on oil forever, pouring money into tourism, real estate, aviation, and finance instead. So right from the start, we see two very different paths. Singapore built itself on discipline, education, and trade. Dubai built itself on bold vision, real estate, and tourism spectacle. Both started with very little and became global icons, but the mindset behind each transformation set the tone for everything that followed. Understanding this origin story is crucial, because it explains so much about how each city operates today, which brings us perfectly into our next point, the economy. Point 2. Economic powerhouse comparison. When it comes to raw economic strength, Singapore has long been considered one of the most stable and diversified economies in Asia. It is a major hub for banking, finance, shipping, and technology. Massive global companies choose Singapore as their regional headquarters because of its predictable legal system, low corruption, and business-friendly policies. The country consistently ranks near the top of global ease of doing business rankings. Dubai, on the other hand, has built an economy that thrives on real estate, tourism, aviation, and increasingly, finance and technology as well. The city attracts entrepreneurs and investors from all over the world with promises of zero personal income tax and incredibly fast business setup processes. Dubai's economy can feel more volatile though, tied closely to real estate cycles and regional geopolitics, whereas Singapore tends to feel steadier and more conservative in its growth. Here is an interesting way to think about it. Singapore is like a careful, methodical chess player, always planning several moves ahead and avoiding unnecessary risk. Dubai is more like a bold entrepreneur, willing to take big swings and build enormous projects that capture the world's imagination. Both approaches have made these cities incredibly wealthy, but the risk profiles are genuinely different. If you value stability and predictability, Singapore might appeal to you more. If you are drawn to fast growth and big opportunity, Dubai's energy might feel more exciting. Now let us talk about something that touches every single person living in these cities: taxes and cost of living. Point 3. Taxes and cost of living. This is where things get really interesting for anyone thinking about relocating. Dubai is famous for having no personal income tax at all. That means whatever you earn, you generally keep. This has made the city a magnet for entrepreneurs, freelancers, and high-income professionals looking to maximize their earnings. However, the cost of living in desirable areas of Dubai, particularly housing, can be extremely high, and there are other costs like value-added tax on goods and services that add up over time. Singapore does have income tax, though it is relatively low compared to many Western countries, especially at lower and middle income levels. The tax system is progressive, meaning higher earners pay a larger percentage. Singapore is also famously one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in, with housing, cars, and everyday expenses often shocking newcomers. Owning a car in Singapore, for example, involves purchasing something called a certificate of entitlement, which can cost as much as the car itself. So when you weigh it all together, Dubai often wins on the tax front, especially for high earners who want to keep more of their income. But Singapore's cost of living, particularly in categories like transportation, can eat into those savings. It really depends on your income level, your profession, and your lifestyle choices. Someone earning a huge income might do better in Dubai, while someone valuing long-term stability might find Singapore's overall structure more predictable. Now let us shift to something just as important as money, and that is safety and law and order. Point 4. Safety and law and order. If safety is a top priority for you, both of these cities genuinely shine, but in slightly different ways. Singapore is often ranked as one of the safest cities on earth. Walking alone at night, even in quiet areas, feels completely normal. The country has extremely strict laws, and honestly, that strictness is a huge part of why crime rates are so low. Littering, chewing gum sales, and even jaywalking come with real consequences, and this culture of discipline extends to serious crime as well. Dubai is also remarkably safe, largely because of a strong police presence, extensive surveillance systems, and strict laws under the UAE legal system. Violent crime is rare, and most residents feel very comfortable in public spaces at any hour. That said, the legal system in Dubai is based on a mix of civil law and Islamic principles, which means visitors and residents need to be mindful of local customs and laws that might differ significantly from what they are used to back home. In terms of pure feeling of safety on the street, both cities are exceptional, arguably among the safest in the entire world. The real difference lies in the nature of the laws themselves and how much personal freedom you are willing to trade for that safety. Singapore's rules are strict but generally secular and consistent. Dubai's rules are strict but shaped more heavily by cultural and religious context. Understanding this difference matters a lot, and it leads us naturally into our next point, which is all about culture and lifestyle. Point 5. Culture and lifestyle. Culture is where these two cities really start to diverge in personality. Singapore is a melting pot of Chinese, Malay, Indian, and Western influences, creating a rich, multicultural society where you can eat incredible food from a dozen different traditions within walking distance. It has a reputation for being efficient, orderly, and perhaps a little more reserved socially, but there is a deep sense of community and cultural pride running through everything. Dubai offers a completely different flavor. It is an incredibly international city, with expatriates making up the overwhelming majority of the population. You will hear dozens of languages spoken daily, and the city blends traditional Emirati culture with an ultra-modern, luxury-driven lifestyle. Dubai leans heavily into glamour, from extravagant shopping malls to indoor ski slopes in the middle of the desert, creating an atmosphere that feels almost like a futuristic playground. If you crave diversity paired with structure and quiet efficiency, Singapore might resonate with your soul. If you crave bold luxury, constant reinvention, and a city that never seems to stop building something new and extraordinary, Dubai might feel like home. Neither lifestyle is better than the other, it truly comes down to personal preference. Some people thrive in Singapore's calm precision, while others feel more alive amid Dubai's dazzling ambition. Speaking of ambition, let us talk about something both cities are famous for, their skylines and architecture. Point 6. Architecture and skyline. Few cities in the world can rival the visual drama of Singapore and Dubai's skylines. Singapore gave us the iconic Marina Bay Sands, with its surfboard-shaped rooftop pool that has become one of the most photographed structures on Earth. Then there is Gardens by the Bay, with its massive futuristic super trees that light up at night like something out of a science fiction film. Singapore's architecture tends to blend nature and technology seamlessly, creating spaces that feel both futuristic and strangely calming. Dubai, meanwhile, is home to the tallest building on the entire planet, the Burj Khalifa, an absolutely jaw-dropping structure that redefined what humans thought was possible in construction. Add to that the Palm Jumeirah, an artificial island shaped like a palm tree visible from space, and the Burj Al Arab, often called the world's only 7-star hotel. Dubai's architecture screams boldness, excess, and a desire to break every previous record. Honestly, comparing these two is like comparing a beautifully composed symphony to an explosive rock concert. Singapore's architecture feels intentional, elegant, and deeply connected to sustainability and green living. Dubai's architecture feels like a statement of pure ambition, screaming to the world that anything is possible if you dream big enough. Both are stunning in their own right, and both continue to push boundaries every single year. Now, let us move from what these cities look like to how easy it actually is to do business in each one. Point 7. Business and entrepreneurship. For entrepreneurs and investors, this comparison becomes incredibly important. Singapore has built a reputation over decades as one of the easiest and most trustworthy places on earth to start and run a business. Its legal system is transparent, corruption is extremely low, and the government actively supports innovation through grants, incubators, and favorable policies for startups, particularly in technology and finance. Dubai has worked incredibly hard to catch up and, in many ways, has leapfrogged ahead in certain areas. With free zones offering full foreign ownership, no corporate tax in many cases, and incredibly fast company registration processes, Dubai has become a magnet for entrepreneurs from Europe, Asia, and Africa who want quick access to global markets without heavy bureaucracy. The government has also invested heavily in becoming a hub for cryptocurrency, blockchain, and emerging technologies. If you want long-term credibility, access to established financial institutions, and a business culture built on decades of trust, Singapore often edges ahead. If you want speed, flexibility, and a tax environment that maximizes profit right now, Dubai frequently wins. Many savvy entrepreneurs actually use both, establishing operations in Singapore for Asian markets and Dubai for Middle Eastern, African, and European reach. This overlap in strategy shows just how complementary these two cities can be rather than purely competitive. Now let us talk about something incredibly personal: healthcare and education. Point 8. Healthcare and education. When you are thinking about relocating long-term, healthcare and education become massive deciding factors, especially for families. Singapore consistently ranks among the very best healthcare systems in the entire world. The quality of hospitals, the training of doctors, and the overall efficiency of the medical system is exceptional. Education is equally impressive, with Singaporean students regularly topping global rankings in mathematics and science, and the country hosting campuses of prestigious international universities. Dubai has made enormous strides in both areas as well. The healthcare system includes world-class private hospitals, and many expatriates specifically praise the quality of care available, though it can come with a higher price tag if you do not have comprehensive insurance. Education in Dubai is heavily driven by international schools, offering British, American, and international baccalaureate curriculums, which makes it very appealing for expatriate families wanting a familiar educational structure for their children. Here is the honest truth though, Singapore's public education and healthcare systems are deeply integrated into the fabric of the nation, built over generations with massive government investment. Dubai's systems, while excellent, rely more heavily on private institutions and international operators. For families prioritizing top-tier public infrastructure, Singapore likely has an edge. For families wanting flexibility and internationally recognized private options, Dubai delivers extremely well too. Now, let us talk about something that affects your daily comfort, the climate and environment. Point 9. Climate and environment. Let us be real for a moment, weather matters more than people often admit. Singapore sits right near the equator, meaning it experiences hot, humid weather pretty much all year round, with regular rainfall keeping everything lush and green. This tropical climate is part of why the city looks so vibrant, with greenery integrated into nearly every building and street, but the humidity can definitely take some getting used to for newcomers. Dubai's climate is a completely different story. It is a desert city, meaning summers can be brutally hot, often reaching extreme temperatures that make outdoor activity nearly impossible without air conditioning. However, winter months in Dubai are absolutely gorgeous, with warm sunny days and cool evenings that attract tourists from colder countries in massive numbers. So essentially, you are choosing between consistent tropical humidity year-round in Singapore, or extreme seasonal contrast in Dubai, where a few months are absolutely miserable outdoors, but several other months feel like paradise. Some people find Singapore's consistency comforting because you always know what to expect. Others prefer Dubai's dramatic seasonal shift, especially if they can escape during the hottest months or simply embrace the indoor luxury lifestyle that Dubai has built around beating the heat. Now, for our final and perhaps most important point, let us talk about long-term potential and future outlook. Point 10. Long-term future outlook. This final point might be the most important one of all, because it is not just about where these cities stand today, it is about where they are heading. Singapore continues to invest heavily in becoming a global leader in technology, sustainability, and finance, positioning itself as the gateway to Southeast Asia's massive and rapidly growing consumer markets. Its government tends to plan decades ahead, ensuring stability and steady, sustainable growth well into the future. Dubai, meanwhile, shows absolutely no signs of slowing down its ambition. With massive infrastructure projects continuing to break ground, an aggressive push toward becoming a global hub for artificial intelligence and space technology, and a population that continues to grow rapidly as more expatriates and businesses relocate there, Dubai's future looks incredibly dynamic, even if occasionally more unpredictable than Singapore's methodical approach. Ultimately, both cities are betting big on the future, just with different strategies. Singapore is playing the long game with careful, steady, sustainable growth. Dubai is playing an aggressive, high-stakes game of rapid expansion and bold reinvention. Neither strategy is guaranteed to win outright, and honestly, that is what makes this rivalry so fascinating to watch unfold over the coming decades. Both cities have already defied the odds once, and both seem determined to keep defying them again and again. So after everything we just covered, who really wins between Singapore and Dubai? Honestly, the truth is there is no single correct answer, because it depends entirely on what you personally value most. If you want steady, disciplined growth, incredible safety, top-tier public healthcare and education, and a multicultural society built on decades of trust, Singapore might be your perfect match. If you want zero income tax, jaw-dropping architecture, rapid business opportunities, and a bold, glamorous lifestyle unlike anywhere else on Earth, Dubai might be calling your name. What is truly remarkable is that both of these cities started with so little and transformed themselves into global powerhouses through vision, discipline, and relentless ambition. They prove that geography and natural resources do not determine destiny, human decisions and leadership do. Whether you dream of Singapore's calm efficiency or Dubai's daring energy, both cities offer incredible lessons in what determination and smart planning can achieve. Now I want to hear from you. Which city do you think truly wins this rivalry, Singapore or Dubai? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and I would genuinely love to hear your perspective, especially if you have lived in either place. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, it really helps this channel grow. And if you want more deep dives comparing amazing cities and countries around the world, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.